Yo, what is up guys, Genius X here, and today we have a very special video. As you can see from the title, we are going to be talking about the different playstyles in Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire OU overused, and it's pretty much viable for every other tier as well. But it's mainly for OU because that's what I play, and playstyles are basically a group of 6 Pokemon that form a type of playstyle that you use, which is basically affects the moves that you choose and then what Pokemon you choose for a team. The words that you may see on screen right now are ORASOU core building, which is different, but it's the best I could find that's close to playstyles. But basically, a team consists of 6 Pokemon, and when these 6 Pokemon are put together, they form a style of playstyle, unless you have a really bad team, which is not what we're talking about in this case. But that team is consisted of Pokemon cores, support mons, and they form together 3 different playstyles, which are most common right now in the OU meta, which are offense, stall, and balance. So what am I going to do first is to go through all 3 of the playstyles. So the first playstyle we have is offense. So all offensive teams normally rely on using mons that have high base power and that outspeed and deal huge power directly. And people that use this playstyle will often use hard-hitting Pokemon, um, and different type of lures such as Solar Beam Heatrans, and like style of plays that doesn't include a lot of switching, but like so basically you don't switch a lot and you just try and force whatever is in front of you to die straight away, and it's a very fast paced playstyle that is pretty common in the current meta right now. So normally the offense playstyles, you don't have Pokemon with resistances and immunities to switch into. Like I said, you just go for the attack that deals the most damage and then have another mon finish up. uh, I'll go into more detail later and in specific roles of Pokemon. So there are tactics that have like lures, like it just says Solar Beam Heatran, to get rid of all the counters that are supposed to check Heatran, such as Crawdont and Azumaros. They love using setup moves such as Swords Dance, Nasty Pot, Rock Polish, Calm Mind, and there are mostly mons that have moves such as Stealth Rock in order to break sashes and get kills more easier. So suicide leads are also a huge part of offense, and I will get into more detail later, and most of them set up rocks and prevent opposing teams from setting up rocks. So the next playstyle we have is stall. So stall teams are mostly based off on residual damage and entry hazards, and the damage can come in many forms such as rocks, spikes, sandstorm, toxic, and most of the mon on stall will have a good defensive utility and basically contribute to be able to stall out the opponent and feint the opponent's teams to residual damage. They almost always have a ghost type to block rapid spin, which can eliminate entry hazards to stop them from taking damage. So, and they also like setting up hazards as fast as possible and using phasing moves such as whirlwind and roar. So these types of players are the most hated players in the all of meta right now. Basically, stall players, because these matches take about like 200 years to finish, and basically you don't want to get involved in this kind of playstyle. The last type of playstyle we have are balance, and balance is probably the most common playstyle in the meta right now. The most efficient balance is probably bulky offense. And generally, bulky offense and balance teams have like 3 sweepers and then a few walls and tanks. And some teams have I mean, every team has entry stealth rocks, but most team has 1 or 2 more hazards, such as spikes or toxic spikes. So successful balance and bulky offense teams revolve around a certain mon on their team, such as a threat, while other teammates seek to help and guarantee a sweep by the Pokemon you're building around. So there are many roles in Pokemon, mainly ones including attacking lead, Cleric, Dedicated Lead, Screeners, Glass Cannon, Mixed Sweeper, Phaser, Shuffler, Pivot, Physical Sweeper, Spinner, Revenge Killer, Special Sweeper, Spin Blocker, Stallbreaker, Status Absorber, Suicide Lead, Supporter, Tank, Trapper, Utility Pokemon, Utility Counter, Wall, and Wall Breakers. So all of these types of what do you call them? Roles of Pokemon are fit into these three categories of offense, stall, and balance. I might make another video covering all of these roles, but for this video, we are just going to be covering the style of plays we have. So basically, what we have for the first analysis is bulky offense, so or balance, as many of you like to call it. So balance is a very, very viable playstyle in the current meta right now. Because of the fact that it's so important. It's just so viable in the current meta with you have a defensive role, you have sweepers, and you have everything. So basically, like I said before, you try and base off your team around 1 to 2 specific sweeping Pokemon, and then you choose other Pokemons that complement this mon nicely and then help it to sweep. So, bulky offense does not mean that you put Pokemon such as Blissey, Chansey, or Skarmory into put together with sweepers. That just gives the team passive, that just makes the team bad. Basically, that's what I'm trying to say. Bulky offensive teams have mons that can take a hit and sweep also, such as Dragonite, Reuniclus, and instead of Hyper Offense, where they have sweepers such as Gengar and Hoopa and mons such as that. So the process of balance is mostly picking one specific sweeper, a 3 Pokemon core, a hazard layer, and a phaser. So basically, once you chose the specific sweeper that you want to build your team around, such as Charizard Y or Victini or mons such as that, you have to make sure that your sweeper is not that frail. So what I'm saying by not frail is basically not KO'd by every move in the whole entire metagame, such as Gengar, Mega Pinsir. Victini has 100 base stats across the board. Not bulky, but definitely not frail, to say the least. You don't need amazing defenses, you just need them to be decent, such as Victini. And then you have to, moves that set up, such as Swords Dance, Bulk Up, or Calm Mind, is helpful. It's not necessary, but it's helpful. It helps sweeping. And there are also plenty of bulky Pokemon that can utilize Swords Dance or Nasty Plot, such as Dragonite, like I said before. And another thing that you want to look for is typing. You don't want to pick a sweeper that is weak to many typings in Pokemon. So a common example is that you don't want a mon that is weak to steel type moves, because Jirachi is quite common nowadays, and you don't want your sweeper being flinched to death by Jirachi. No, you don't. So common sweepers that you might want to common monster that are viable in the current meta that can start on sweepers are monsters such as Excadrill and Heatran, Jirachi. So you want to pick a mon that can resist most of these Pokemon and can 1v1 them. Gliscor is also another Pokemon that you have to be aware of, but it's not used as much anymore. So Volcarona is another example. It may look like a very good sweeper, but it's not a sweeper that you want to build around, because Bug Fire is weak to many Pokemon, and it has a huge weakness to Stealth Rock. So that is something you do have to consider when picking the mon you are going to build around. So the next thing is core, which is mostly covered by 3 Pokemon. So the core has to be based around your sweeper, and it's pretty much the most difficult part of building a balanced or bulky offense team. So these 3 Pokemon that has to counter a vast majority of the metagame and be able to get rid of opposing team sweepers. So frail or defensive Pokemon are okay in this core. Just they have to help out in the main goal of the Pokemon you chose as a sweeper to sweep. So, frail Pokemon should normally have some kind of immunity when used on a bulky offense team, such as Chandelure, which has Flash Fire, or Latios, which has Levitate. Or they should cover recovery, such as Recover, Roost, or Poison Heal. Defensive Pokemon that are part of your core should have instant recovery, such as Synthesis, Soft Boil, Roost, and you can also have mons that are Wish Passers that can set up hazards that can shut down a specific threat. So these are the kind of mons that you want to think about when you build the core that supports your sweeper. So another thing to consider when building the core is a scout. A scout is to find the scout jobs is to find information on your opponent's team. It should have basically it's like a mon that has similar weaknesses to your sweeper, but can find out the what the opposing Pokemon have lures for your sweeper for. So basically, you can have a dual fairy spam core to see if any of the opposing Pokemon run things that counters fairies. You can use your scout to figure it out, so you are aware of it. So you will know that you need to kill which Pokemon to allow your sweeper to be able to sweep efficiently. So remember to pick your core based on your sweeper. That is why building a bulky offense team is like the main foundation of a bulky offense team. The core is the most important part of the team. So with that said, the next thing you have to worry about in a bulky offense team is the hazard layer or lead. Now the lead doesn't have to be specific, such as Sash Azelf or Aerodactyl. But Stealth Rocks are unnecessary in almost every team in the current meta. And you don't want a mon that's only specifically lays hazard. In bulky offense, you want mons such as Landorus, Clefable. These mons that can lay down hazard are bulky and can lay down hazards multiple times. So the reason why Stealth Rock is so important is that it gets residual damage to everything in the game that doesn't have Magic Guard. It can help mons such as Celebi 2-hit KO things with Giga Drain. Other hazards you might consider are like Spikes and Toxic Spikes. Spikes is very cool to use because they have more damage to things that are grounded and you can stack layers. Toxic Spikes are less common, but they are still useful if you want if your sweeper is weak to mons such as bulky waters, such as Slowbro. And another thing that is important, like I said, is that the Pokemon that you choose to set up hazards for a bulky offense team should not be a suicide lead. So, Aerodactyl, Azelf, no, you don't want these mons. You want Landers, you want Slowbro, no, those Slowbros isn't on rocks, Clefable. What else is there? Tyranitar, Heatran. So, the last mon you want on your team is basically a filler. It's basically the glue of the team. It basically plays the part that your team is weak to. It plays like the most important part on a bulky offense team. It covers the holes and the weaknesses. It's your emergency check to Pokemon that your team does not have counters, such as you may have a bulky offense team that has no counter to a +1 Charizard X, so you add a filler Pokemon there, such as Azumarill, to be able to counter that. It's like your emergency check. And it also helps the sweeper sweep. So your filler is basically where you put your choice items in, so such as Band, Azumarill, Scarf, Tyranitar. When you have your first 5 mons done, you have to think, what am I weak to? What do you lose? What do you lose to in the current meta? And then find a mon that covers all those weaknesses and support your sweeper and put it in the team. That's basically the filler of the bulky offense team. So to finish bulky offense off, I have a replay here, I believe. Yes, so I believe I do have a replay here of a team I used that specifically that's built around Victini. So basically, what you can see here is that Victini is the sweeper that I decided to build around. Okay? So Victini is the sweeper that I decided to build around. And the core consists of Rotom, Altaria, and Sand offense. Basically, Sand offense also covers the Stealth Rock rolls, so that's also pretty much what I just said. And Keldeo is the mon, the filler, the check to bulky grounds that Victinis are weak to. And that is the mon that where I also gave the choice item to, just as I said in my analysis. So let us just play the replay here. So I decided to lead off with my Keldeo because it pretty much deals with Diancie. I forgot this team. I think it's okay. So what I did here was that my Keldeo is Specs. But because my team looks like I could have a Scout Keldeo, and I know that my opponent is experienced and that he will never stay on the Keldeo with a Diancie, risking it to be Scarf, so that he will switch. So basically, I baited the Diancie into thinking that I'm Scarf, so he goes out into Starmie. So as you can see, bulky offense teams have a dedicated switch-ins to these mons. So in this case, mine is Tyranitar, but he just predicts me nicely and goes for a Scout. But as you can see, that is nothing. So basically, I pursued the Starmie. What I'm doing here is helping my Victini sweep. The mons that hinder Victini sweep, Hippowdon, Starmie, Diancie. Get rid of those three, Victini has a field day. So and then get up rocks, but that's like after you get rid of all the mons, you have to get rid of Diancie to be able to get up rocks reliably. So I straight up go for the rocks here. Forget what I just said, but rocks was definitely the best play there since he was not going into Diancie on a potential stone, on a potential crunch, or a ice beam or anything related to that. So as you can see, I have switch-ins. I don't need every mon healthy. So he phases me into my Victini. Now I don't want my Victini getting weakened, so I have to get out of there because Victini is my main sweeper. So as you can see, we have switch-ins. Rotom, the defensive core, completely shutting down Hippowdon, being able to pivot out with Volt Switch and Hydro Pumps. Now, what you saw there was basically I predicted him to go Nox stay in, so I went for the Hydro Pump. If that doesn't make sense, it means that I won't go for Will-O-Wisp there because he has a Diancie. He already predicted me to go for the Will-O-Wisp and went into Diancie, which is why I went for the Hydro Pump straight away. So, like I said, I got rid of Diancie. One more mon gone and Victini can sweep. Well, not sweep, but like break past everything on his team. Goes into Ferrothorn. I support Will-O-Wisp. Another great move for support mons. Status, weakening down your opponents. As you can see, the Stealth Rock damage are also racking up. And Rotom also acts as a great pivot. So now I can just go out into my Victini as he goes for a Leech Seed, because now he has no switching other than Hippowdon. And if I weaken that, it's GG. So as you can see, let me skip over a couple of turns as Victini take out the Hippowdon. And basically what this means is that now I win. Like, there's almost no chance that my opponent can win. Because Victini, coupled with all the other monsters that are supporting it, just took down everything that stops my secondary sweeper, Exegil, from sweeping. So what you want in a bulky offense team is you base around your team on one or two sweepers. In this case, my main sweeper was Victini. My secondary one was Exegil. Victini was going to sweep, but decided to clean up, take down everything that stops Exegil and weaken Ferrothorn. And basically what happens here is just me pivoting out into Keldeo, weakening Ferrothorn, and then getting rid of rocks. And then basically just winning with Exegil. As you can see here, he Exegil weakened Kofak from 100 to 20%, and now there's no way he can win a battle, and he knows that, so he just forfeits. So, as you can see, this is what a bulky offense team does. It weakens the opposing checks with monsters such as Rotom, Keldeo. I didn't even get to use Altaria that battle, and we set up rocks, pressure monsters such as Talonflame, and a sweep was your primary or secondary sweeper. That is what a bulky offense team is. So, moving on, we have Stall. Now, Stall. Let's just get this straight. I hate Stall. Probably everybody on this earth hates Stall as well. And I don't blame them. It's such a... so annoying to play against. So, let us start by explaining the most common Stall out there. Mega Sabai Stall. On the OU ladder, once you get onto like 1700 or above, Stall is everywhere, and I'm not even exaggerating. stall is everywhere. Nowadays, you can't run a stall team without Mega Sableye. It's a spin blocker. It's a magic bounce user. It's bulky. It has Prankster before it Mega Evolves. It offers utility. It has instant recovery. It has knockoff. It has setup moves such as Calm Mind. It's basically a staple on stall teams now. And the three excellent defensive Mega Evolutions that Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire introduced: Mega Slowbro, Mega Altaria, Mega Latias, will you're a huge portion of the metagames. But those mons are from bulky offense team, and none of these mons stand up to Mega Sableye. Sableye does not just wall threats. It's such a huge asset for stall teams because Magic Bounce bounces every non-attacking targeted moves, except for skill swap users and mode breakers, but like that's not that common. And that is absolutely huge. Protects the team from taunt, status, most importantly, entry hazards. Because taunt shuts down every member on your team. And when you have a magic bouncer, you don't need to fear anything. Status wears down your walls. You don't want that. Go into Mega Sableye, you're safe. Entry hazards wears down your walls. Again, what do you have for it? Mega Sableye. That's why it's such a staple on stall teams now. Mega Sableye. Now, Mega Sableye is not definitely a guaranteed mon that can block hazards every time. So the second thing that you want to think about when you create a stall team is the entry hazard removal. So, first is that some entry hazard setters, such as Clefable and Offensive Heatran, are actually able to break past Sableye. And Sableye may not Mega Evolve in time to actually bounce back those rocks, so you definitely do need entry hazard removal. And Pokemon that exceed in these roles are mons such as Skarmory, Starmie, Tentacle even. Now, the reason that you definitely need entry hazard, other than the fact that Sableye cannot reliably block it sometimes, is because Stealth Rock is such a huge pain to stall. They need to be removed ASAP, or your stall team is not going to hold up. Stall is basically switching counters into Pokemon, recovering up. Stalling was toxic. That's literally what stall is. So, the third mon that you want on your team is the Super Wall. That's what I call it, Super Wall. These are your most annoying mons on the team other than Sableye. Include mons such as Chansey. What else are there? Cresselia, Porygon 2 even. Like, these are just your standard annoying mons. Clefable. Like, oh my gosh, these guys are just annoying. So, what these Pokemon do is to... Basically, these are the Pokemon to reliably soak up your hits after hits, after hits, after hits, after hits. And these Pokemon are usually special walls because Sableye has already great physical walls. And what they also need to possess is instant recovery. And what else are there? They are also known for their extremely passiveness, which is also why people don't put these mons on bulky offense because they're passive. They give your opponent momentum. But in this case, you want that because you don't care if your opponent has momentum. You have the Super Wall. You have a wall to everything in existence. You don't care if your opponent has momentum. That is basically why these mons are such an important mons for store. They have such a huge role in stall. They're just a reliable blanket check to so many threats in that tier. So, moving on, we have our number 4 slot, the Fairy Killer. So, one of Sableye's most obvious weaknesses is Fairy, because Fairy types such as Mega Gardevoir easily destroy them, so you want a Fairy Killer. Mons such as Spadef Jirachi, Bronzong, Doublade, Heatran. These mons are so good with Sableye. Like, these mons are your traditional switch-ins to Mega Gardevoir, one of the most powerful Starbreakers in the tier, and I'll get to that later. And thanks to a combination of Taunt and Psyshock, he even breaks past Chansey sometimes, the go-to special wall on stall. So that's why you need a Fairy Killer on every stall team. Which is exactly where Heatran and Jirachi excels in. Especially the Spadef version, and they can also set up rocks, so what not to like? And so the next mon we have on the miserable list of stalls are the secondary physical wall. So as good as a physical wall Sableye is, you don't want to put all physical pressure on Sableye himself. So you need a mon such as Chestnut, Slowbro, Peladon, Gliscor, Landorus, Amoonguss, Alomomomola, Tangros, and one of the most common of them all, Quagsire. Thanks to a lot of these mons, Stall has become more miserable than ever. So, let me go over what these specific mons do. So, a lot of these mons have their specific niches. Mons such as Slowbro, Amoonguss, Tangros, and Alomomola has Regenerator, which allows you to regenerate health every time you switch out. Mons such as Quagsire have Unaware, which allows you to counter setup sweepers. Mons such as Landorus and Capaldon have Stealth Rocks, allows you to fulfill the Hazard's role, and also Ferrothorn. And mons such as Gliscor has Poison Heal. Like, each one of these mons have their standard niches, and they can just wall stuff such as Charizard X and Bisharp. They're just annoying overall. Let's move on to the next and last mon of the team. So, the real irony of Stall is that it loses to Mega Sableye. Every stall loses to Mega Sableye, meaning you have to fulfill the last team slot as a Mega Sableye counter. And good Mega Sableye counters are, let me state some of them, Clefable, Talonflame, Sylveon, Fairy types, Fire types. These mons are the bane to Mega Sableye's existence. And Clefable is one of the most used counters to Sableye ever. With Magic Guard, it can pretty much bypass Toxic Will-O-Wisp and everything else. It can not take damage from Stealth Rock. It can act as a great Cleric. With Wish Passer as Unaware. It can break wall breakers such as Swords Dance, Mega Heracross, Nasty Plot Sunburst, Calm Mind Diancie, Dragon Dance Altaria, Tail Glow Manaphy. Those are just some of the things that Unaware Clefable can do. And Magic Guard is just OP, overpowered. So, that is your most famous archetype of Stall, which fulfills the roles of Mega Sableye, Hazard Removal, Super Wall, Fairy Killer, Second Physical Wall, Sableye Counter, and that's basically Stall. As horrible as it sounds, there's still a way to beat it. Yes, there is a way to beat Stall. So, in this picture, you can see that you have the standard Super Wall and Chansey. You have that Mega Sableye there saying fuck fairies. You have that spike stacking Skarmory. You have the Clefable in the back countering that Mega Sableye. You have the Gliscor. You have the Moonlight Cresselia annoying your opponents to hell. You have the Fairy Killer and Doublade. You have those Regenerators core and Moongus and Slowbro. 10 more minutes, Mom. 10 more minutes. So, let's move on to how to beat Sableye Stall. Stall Breakers. Stall Breakers are the main way to beat Sableye Stall. Hard-hitting Pokemon are Stall Breakers, such as Mega Heracross, Mega Gardevoir, Crawdon, Tail Glow Manaphy, Swords Dance Mega Charizard X, Bisharp plus Mega Gardevoir, or Magnezone plus Metagross are very, very effective against Mega Sableye, because first of all, Magnezone takes care of monsters such as Skarmory, and then once you get rid of that, Mega Metagross is going to be killing every mon in existence. Strong hitters, Mega Heracross, Pin Missile everything to the next universe. Crawdon, Adaptability Boosted Crabhammer, dead. Gardevoir, Hyper Voice, Sableye, where are you? I don't know. Sableye, more like. So these are basically the way of dealing with Stall. Stall basically rose when Aegislash was banned during the XY meta. And since then, it's been a dominance playstyle. It's been so annoying to face, and there's no reliable way you can beat Stall. But with all that said, let's move on to the replay of Stall. Now, unfortunately, I do not use Stall, but I do have a replay of Stall. And this replay is me getting wrecked by Stall. So, let's move on to the replay. As you can see here, I have a very nice balanced team here with Charizard Y as my main wall breaker, my Staraptor as my main revenge killer, and my opponent here has the most standard archetype of Sableye Stall. You have Mega Sableye, the Sableye. You have Amoonguss, not Amoonguss, you have Chansey, the Super Wolf. You have the Skarmory, the Hazard Setter plus Defogger. You have the Clefable, the mon that checks opposing Mega Sableyes. You have the Amoonguss, Regenerator, annoying as fuck. And then you have the Unaware Warren Quagsire. So let's move on to the game. As you can see, I lead off with my Breeding. Leads off with Sableye. And as you can see, this guy just switches in Chansey on everything. Amoonguss on my Breloom. This Skarmory on my Latios. This Fat Wool Quagsire on my Bishop. And then you it's just so annoying. He has literally a counter to everything. You have to play aggressively, which I didn't at that time because I was stupid. Gets up hazards, burns everything, recovers everything. Stupidly fat. Just fat. As my mons gets constantly worn down by burn, by hazards, by residual, by running out of PP. And then in the end, I get 6-0. That's basically what Stall is. Sounds fun? Yeah, sounds so fun, right? If you enjoy letting everybody on the ladder hate you, this is what you should go for, Stall. As you can see, my mons one by one go down. And yeah, that's basically Stall. No words. It's pretty self-explanatory in this replay. And let's just move on to the final playstyle, and the playstyle I play the most, offense. Offense, or more simply, hyper offense, is a very rare playstyle. Not rare, it's still used, but it's not as common as balanced or Stall nowadays. And it's kind of sad, actually. Mainly because mainly because how it's kind of walled by a lot of mons. So let's just get right into hyper offense because it's my favorite. It's my favorite playstyle. It's my most commonly used playstyle. So the arguably best, most effective playstyle in the current metagame is hyper offense, abbreviated to HO. Now, it's not as common nowadays because it's not reliable as Stall. Like, it's fast, and you can win games very fast, but the other half of the time you lose. So it's not like there's kind of guaranteed win, like say by Stall, if you want to win. So HO performs excellently against most of opposing playstyles because you have so much different options on a team. Your ability to consistently pressure the opponent and weaken them to be able to pick off is incredibly useful. Hyper offense is also very easy to use. The main idea of the playstyle is to set up entry hazards, pick at the opposing team with sweepers and wall breakers, and once they are weakened enough, send in a cleaner to finish off the opposing team. Hyper offense also has a lot of momentum. Momentum is the act of creating ideal matchups for the player to increase their chances of winning, such as full switch and U-turn. So, let's get straight into the roles of a hyper offense or offense team. Leads, wall breakers, sweepers, and revenge killers, or cleaners. These are the mons you want to have on your hyper offense team, so let's go over them one by one. Lead. The main purpose of the lead on hyper offense team is to set up an entry hazard and gain momentum. The main way of doing this is by setting up an entry hazard while sacrificing the lead by pressuring the foe, and some hyper offense leads also use taunt to make foe unable to set up its own entry hazards. Azelf, Skarmory, Scolipede, and Garchomp all execute the role of a hyper offense lead very well due to their ability to set up entry hazards as well as generate large amounts of momentum. So that's basically what leads are. You set up hazards and you die. And you don't let your opponent set up hazards. Let's move on to the second role, the wall breakers. Oh, actually, I forgot. Let's think. Sorry, my bad. The wall breakers. The purpose of a wall breaker on hyper offense team is to soften up the foe with powerful attacks that cripple the opposing team's balanced walls, and so that they don't have any switch-ins to your cleaner. Most hyper offense teams run 2 wall breakers, and it's best to soften up the opposing team and make it easier to finish the game. In terms of wall breakers, there's just a bunch. For instance, Keldeo, Mega Heracross, Diggersby, and Mega Gardevoir are all extremely good wall breakers for hyper offense. And some of the more common ones in the tier, and the best ones, are Kyurem Black, Azumarill, Gengar, and of course you cannot forget Charizard Y, one of the most reliable wall breakers in the whole OU tier. Basically, wall breakers soften up your opponent's defensive cores and let your cleaner sweep, and yeah, that's basically what they do. Let's move on to the next role. Sweepers. The idea of a sweeper is to provide a win con, a Pokemon that can be used as a path to victory, or a mid-game breaker both in one. Sweepers rely completely on setting up, and after they have done so, they are able to wreak havoc during a game. Some of the most common sweepers in the hyper offense right now are Power Punch Mega Lopunny, Superior, Talonflame, and Manaphy. So, sweepers are basically what you use to clean up the opposing team after your wall breakers have reconstructed your opposing team's walls. Now let's move on to the last and final role, the Revenge Killers. Cleaners and Revenge Killers take advantage of the weakened opposing team and finish them off with their high-powered stab attacks and coverage moves. Most cleaners excel in having a high speed stat or having a choice scarf and high attacking stats. Mons that are extremely good at this include Megalopony, Alakazam, Weavile, Scarflandorus T. So, as you can see in the picture right now, Azelf there is the lead, Talonflame there is the sweeper, Azumarill there is the wall breaker, and Megalopony there is the cleaner / revenge killer. So, okay. Hyper offense teams have many different options that can be put to use. And these options are listed by different types of Pokemon that are said to be used in each role. So, a common archetype of hyper offense are cores such as Mega Altaria plus Magnezone, Mega Pinsir plus Magnezone, Altaria plus Weavile. So, Magnezone traps steel types such as Ferrothorn and Skarmory and allow monsters such as Pinsir to sweep. So, in that case, Magnezone is the wall breaker and Pinsir is the sweeper. So, to end of this video, I have a replay that I recently just battle that I recently just battled on the ladder during the OLT. But let us get straight into the replay. So as you can see, I have a very standard archetype of hyper offense here, and my lead here is my Sash Excadrill. My wall breakers here are my Azumarill, my Garchomp, and my Magnezone. My revenge killer is my Weavile, and my sweeper is my Pinsir. So let's get straight into the battle. I lead off with my Excadrill because, of course, it is my dedicated lead. And what I do here is I set up my rocks, as he goes for his Earthquake and brings me down to my stash. Actually, sorry, my bad. Rock Tomb, just to make sure I am faster than him, for the next, if he is Scarfed Landorus. I just wanted to make sure. So, now, as you can see, I tried to pressure the opponent, and by not letting him set up his own entry hazards, and eventually he switches out into Tornadus. So, Extra did the job. It allowed him not to set up hazards and set up his own hazards. So, going to my Azumarill, risking the burn, Belly Drum up, and I can basically just Aqua Jet and basically break the team. Like, I can just weaken everything. So, he goes for a Scald as I go for the Play Rough, as we take out the Keldeo, which is great. Now, what he goes into here is his Fizdef Scizor. And as you can see here, Azumarill goes for the Aqua Jet and brings Scizors down to 7%. And that basically just makes him, like, my Pinsir can just come in right now and go for Mega Evolve and go for the return. He has no switch-ins. Tyranitar is not a switch-in because I have close combat and he cannot risk that. Goes into Tyranitar. Go into Garchomp. Garchomp, my second Wall Breaker. Substitute up. On the switch into Landorus. Swords Dance up. On the substitute. So, basically what you see here is Garchomp breaking walls. Defeating Landorus. As he goes to the rocks, which I don't agree with that play, but that's him. But as you can see, Garchomp takes out his Landorus, takes out his Scolipede, and takes out his Tornadus. And basically that's just GG, because Pinsir wins with close combat. As you can see here, these are what Wall Breakers do. Azumarill and Garchomp just basically wall breaks through my opponent's whole team. And if both of them went down, you know who cleaned up? Pinsir. So that's basically what Hyper Offense is, and hope you guys all enjoyed this video. I really enjoy doing this, and I think that's it for this episode. So, if you guys want me to do more of these analysis videos, be sure to click a like down below, and see you next time. Peace out.